All right, here we go. My name is Jeff Kay, and you're listening to episode 468 of the world-famous West Virginia Surf Report podcast.
A little bit hefty.
Today I thought I'd tell you guys some stories that I've collected throughout my life, throughout my working life. These are stories that random coworkers, ex-coworkers, almost in every instance. I don't know if there's any of them from the current place, but anyway, most of them are ex-coworkers at different jobs that I've had through my life, and these are stories that people told me that I cannot forget. These are things that have stuck with me, and as I jotted them down over like a 2 or 3 day period, trying to remember the good ones, because some of the stuff you're like, oh my God, I'd go through this exercise and this will happen, afterwards I'll be like, oh man, I forgot to tell that story. I can just come back and tell it. If I forgot one, I can come back and tell you guys later. It doesn't happen. But anyway, I did try to get them all the main ones. I've told a lot of these stories before, but I've never done them all in one package before. One, with a bow on it. Just one contained episode with the coworker stories. So I thought I'd try to do that today. How's that sound? So the first one, this is, I'm not going to tell you where these came from, but there was a woman I used to work with who told me just casually, people will tell you anything, by the way. People will tell you just about anything, I've learned. And recently it's gotten worse. This was a long time ago. This was like probably pre-internet. This woman told me. She told me that she lived in this apartment that was kind of a dump. Not the greatest, not exactly 5-star. And so the place was kind of a dump. And she was on the toilet, sitting on the toilet. And there was a vent above the toilet in the ceiling. And so she's sitting there doing whatever she was doing. She didn't elaborate, or at least I don't recall. She was sitting on the pot, sitting on the throne, and a roach, a cockroach, falls out of there's a vent above her, falls out of the vent into her underwear, which is around her ankles. She didn't realize it. She had no idea. And then after she was finished with whatever she was doing, she pulled her drawers up, and she could immediately feel something crawling around in there. And she was like, what the hell? And she inspected, and there was a cockroach in there inside her britches, in her underwear. So that's one of those things. As I jotted these down, it seems like there's a theme. There's a certain kind of story that I never forget, and it's usually not something heartwarming or wonderful. It's this kind of story, like a cockroach and crawling around inside your underwear. These are the kinds of stories that stick with me for some reason. So that's number one. I don't remember if I ever told that story before, but it's one of those ones you never forget. Never forget. There was a guy was telling me a story one time, and he told me, he said, he goes, "This in my old job, we were getting ready to have a meeting one day. I don't remember the back end of the story. I don't remember the details of it. I don't think the story was all that good. But he said he goes, we were getting ready to have a team meeting. This is at a previous job that someplace I never worked. And, we were gathering around, and the boss man came out. The boss man came out, and he was a Jew that couldn't smell. And he proceeded to tell us, about this. I said, hey, whoa, hang on, whoa. What? He said he was a Jew that couldn't smell? Yeah. I said, what the hell's that? I said, does that have anything to do with the story? No, I'm just describing him. It's okay. So anyway, so the boss man came out. He was a Jew that couldn't smell. And anyway, he proceeded to tell us, that, there's, I don't know, whatever the story was, I don't even know. Like, he inserted this bizarre. I said, why couldn't he smell? He said, I don't know, he had some kind of like he got sick and he had a high temperature. And he said he couldn't smell anything after that. But this has nothing to do with the story. No, I'm just describing this man so that you can picture him. It's okay. I don't know. That kind of stuff cracks me up. Like, I love when people insert like stuff into a story for no reason whatsoever. Actually, that one was bizarre. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. I'll also remember. I don't have this jotted down, but this is back when in my previous position at the same company, we used to have this. Now it's all automated and fancy pants, but when people call off, like they would call, now there's an 800 number you call if you're not going to be at work or whatever. Now, but in the old days, we used to have just an extension, a phone extension, and we used to listen to them. And this guy called in one time. He said he was in a car wreck. His feet are swollen, and he can't get his shoes on. And if he made that shit up, then that's freaking genius, But I don't know. Anyway, I got a lot of stories about that. But anyway, the Jew who couldn't smell had nothing to do with the story. Just inserted. He's just describing him. What? I don't understand what your problem is. He acted like I was the one. And I told this other story about this guy. I've told this probably more than once. I used to work with this guy who had all kinds of problems with his gut, He had all kinds of intestinal issues. He had like something like 40 colonoscopies. He just had all kinds of problems. I'm glad I don't have those issues. God. That sounds awful. But anyway, so he had all these procedures and stuff. Just a constant, nonstop gut problems. So he went in and he had some kind of procedure where something was rerouted inside his intestines. Something was moved around. It was kind of like I don't know. He went in and it was like he didn't even have to spend the night. He said he was home that night, and they had a hamburger helper for dinner, which doesn't sound like, in retrospect, that doesn't sound like something you would eat after gut surgery, even if it's outpatient. But anyway, that's what he said. He said he went home that night, or he was at home that night, and they had hamburger helper for dinner. And he ate it, and everything was fine. And then later, he went to the bathroom to take a leak. And he was peeing ground beef. Said ground beef was coming. It was in his urine. So he was pissing beef. This guy. I was buckled over in laughter. I mean, the guy's like looking at me like, I could have died. I mean, I don't know. It's not funny. I'm like, are you serious? But that wasn't even the best part. I mean, that thing was classic. I was like dying laughing. The guy was peeing beef, peeing meat. The guy was peeing meat. That's hilarious, right? But then he goes, that's not even the worst part of it. Later that same night, I started farting through my penis. I thought I was gonna pass out from laughter. I mean, I was buckled. I mean, that shit is hilarious. How could you not think that's funny? I don't understand people. All right, he's alive. I mean, that happened years prior from when he was telling me about it. He didn't die, you know? So get over it. God, if you can't laugh about that shit, I don't even know. It's like that girl I went out on a date with. I've told this story a million times, too. It was a first date. We're sitting in Murphy's, which is my date back in the Atlanta days before I met Tony. That was my date. That was my go-to date restaurant, Murphy's in Virginia Highland in Atlanta, the Virginia Highland neighborhood. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and she's like telling me a story about how she's heard some kind of loud groaning noise when she was sleeping at 5 o'clock in the morning. Woke her up. She sat up in bed. As soon as she sat up, a water pipe exploded in the wall and blasted her out of the bed across the launched her ass over tits and across the room. She ended up in a heap on the other side of the room. I mean, I like busted out laughing. You know, I mean, it's funny, right? That's the kind of story I would tell over and over again. You know, and she was like, I fail to see the humor. I don't understand why. I could have been seriously hurt, but you weren't, right? I wasn't. I'm lucky that I wasn't. A waiter, can I have the check? You know, it's like, this is a one and done. I'm not. If you can't laugh about that shit, if somebody's like peeing meat and farting through their penis, and you can't laugh about that, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say about that. All right. Let's see, this next one. I heard this guy tell this story at least between 3 and 5 times. He also had gut problems. There's a lot of people with gut problems, and I'm glad I don't have them. But he went to a specialist, and he said that he was. They did some kind of procedure on him. He said he had to take his pants and drawers off, and had to lay across a table on his stomach, right? And they inserted something. He said it was like a flashlight. He said it was like a mag light with a cable coming off of it, right? In his ass. He put it in, they twisted it into his ass. And he kept calling it a flashlight. He said it was like a flashlight in his ass. And he's laying there. Some girl, he said when he came in the office, there was this young girl that she was like a nurse or something, some assistant or something. She was good looking. And he was like, I might ask her out before this is over, you know. So then they fast forward a few minutes, and he's on his stomach with a mag light up his ass, and then the guy hit a button, and it hoisted him up in the air. It was like a hydraulic lift. I still don't understand. I left out part of the story. So when they were inserting the mag light, the doctor goes, nurse, there's a little stool coming out. A little stool. Could you help me get? So the girl he was thinking about asking out has to scrape poop off this guy into a metal like a stainless steel container. She sits it down on the table there, and then they hoist him up in the air for some unknown reason. The guy's hoisted way up in the air like on a car jack with a flashlight in his ass with a heavy cable running off of it. So he's like, his legs hanging over. And so then whenever they were doing, I don't know why do you have to be hoisted? I don't understand that part of it. A lot of it I don't understand. But so then he's like humiliated. He's like, oh my God. So then when they drop him back down, he's dropping down. His foot hits that stainless steel poop container. And it goes all over the floor. And the girl who he's going to ask out on a date, possibly, had to clean it up for a second time. I heard that story over and over. That thing's hilarious. He also told me a story. He was like, mixed race. I think his dad was black, and he was like, I don't know what his mother was, but he looked like, people used to ask him if he was Hawaiian. Are you Hawaiian? He goes, no, I'm not Hawaiian. Get all irritated. But he looked like might have been Hawaiian or something. I don't know. But he had a distinct look about him. He was a nice guy. He was one of my favorite coworkers of all time. But he also told me he was on an airplane one time, and this is another one I don't have written down. But he was on an airplane, and there was a group of Indian men on there, right? And none of them could speak hardly any English. They had very little English. There was a whole group of them on there, and the stewardesses or the flight attendants were trying to tend to them, and everything. And then one of them comes up to my ex-coworker and goes, "Would you like a cookie? Would you care for a cookie?" Because clearly she thought he was an Indian. You know what I mean? Hilarious. He's like, "Yeah, I'll take a cookie." Anyway, that's another one. I didn't have that one written down. Anyway, they hoisted him up on some kind of a lift with a flashlight in his ass, with a heavy cable coming off the thing. There's a stool catcher got knocked in the floor. I think that's the gist of it. There's a very similar story in other ones. So I'm telling you, there's a theme. There's like there's a theme with these stories. These are the ones I remember. All right, another one. This is another one. That's a completely different guy. Also, gut problems. I guess that's common, right? A lot of gut problems. He also had to go to see a specialist. He had all kinds of issues, trying to get stuff corrected. Nothing was working. So he went into this place. He told me, and this is another story that I heard multiple times. He told me that he went to this specialist, and they gave him some kind of I can't remember if it was an enema or if it was just, or if they gave him like a laxative, like a powerful laxative. I can't remember. I think it was an enema. That's what it was. So they gave him an enema, and they told him to hold it in as he was on a toilet. They told him to hold it in as long as he possibly could, and then like push a button, I think, when he finally let the dam burst. Once he let loose to push a button. So he said he was sitting on the toilet, holding it in, and everything just like blasted out like a high pressure. And then he pushed the button, and some woman come in there with a mirror on a long like expandable stick, like a selfie stick type thing, with a mirror on the end of it, and stuck it down. He was seated on the toilet, stuck it down between his legs, and looked at his butthole with it. I said, "Oh my God!" I mean, this thing sent shivers down my. I can't even imagine. How would you like to be on either end of that equation? How'd you like to be that guy that has to? Oh my God! Or the woman that came in there with the selfie stick. How would you like to do either? I mean, a person like myself who has to have home field advantage. I mean, that's just like a nightmare. That's the kind of thing that would keep me up. That's just the fact that I'm talking about it today might keep me up tonight. I might not be able to sleep. I mean, that's just like a nightmare. What the hell is she looking for? What kind of a telltale sign is she going to get in that mirror? Oh my God. He told that story multiple times too. I worked with him in a previous job. It was a part-time job, long time ago. I remember the guy's name. Here's another one. Another ass story. This guy, big old guy, kind of, I wouldn't say fat, but borderline fat, big guy, hefty, probably 300 pounds. And he worked in a physical job, and he would sweat so much that he would have to change his shirt multiple times during the shift because the thing would just become saturated, like he was just got out of a swimming pool. So one day, somebody told me this. I didn't actually see it. She said she was getting ready to punch out, and there's like this area where everybody stood around and they would punch out on the computers there. So everybody just kind of standing around waiting for before it to turn to 2:30 or 3 o'clock or whatever the hell. And they're all just standing there. And this guy that has to change his shirt all the time walks over there, and he grabs it. There's a roll of paper towels on one of the racks there. He takes it and just starts wrapping it round and round his forearm and wrist and everything, right? Just like does multiple rotations around his arm, around his forearm and wrist. And then he reaches into his basketball shorts and drags it up his crack, drying the sweat from his butt crack on this on this paper towel conglomeration on his wrist. And then he takes it, and the thing's real heavy. It's saturated with sweat at this point, and he just slings it into the trash can. And the thing's so heavy, it goes thunk. It's like it's saturated with just 2 or 3 pounds of ass sweat, just from it. And he does this in front of everybody. And the woman was telling me about this. She said, everybody's like, "What is wrong with you? You're an animal. What in the hell?" Everybody's howling in protest. How could you not remember that story? That's a story that I'll never forget. And every time I saw that guy after that, I was like, there he is. There he is. Old wrist rocket Johnny over here with his ass sweat. Oh, God. What the? You're an animal. What is wrong with you? Okay, next story. What's next on my list? Oh, I told this story before, too. This is a classic. This is one of the few that doesn't have anything to do with the ass. There's a theme. I don't know. This is a guy. I'm not a coworker, an ex-coworker. He told me, like I say, people tell you anything. People will tell you anything and don't feel self-conscious about it one bit. All right. He told me, he goes, "Oh, man, I had something happen to me last week. It was crazy." I said, "What happened?" He goes, "Well, I was home watching porn." I said, "What the?" It's okay. It's not something, okay. He goes, "Yeah, I was watching porn on my laptop, and this little window pops up, and there's some woman in there, and she started talking to me. It was live. It was like a live person in a little window on the screen, and she started talking to me, and she goes, "Would you be interested in going to a private room?" And he said, "I don't mind if I do." I'm like sitting over there like, what the? And so he said they go to there's some kind of private room. I don't know how this works. I don't know anything about this. I don't know what the hell that is. A private, it's like online, but so anyway, so he and this woman goes to their private room, and he goes, she started doing her thing. I started doing my thing. I'm like, I said, okay. I don't know. She started doing her thing. I started doing my thing, Yeah. Everything was going along well. And then the screen went black. For a second, I thought I might have, the battery might have died on my laptop, or I lost internet. I didn't know. And then, so it went black for a few seconds, and then suddenly on the screen, it started showing a video from a few seconds before of me doing my thing. I was like, what the? Are you serious? He goes, yeah. He goes, and then there was a computerized voice that said that they wanted me to wire $800. I think it was $800 or something in that neighborhood. So to some kind of account somewhere. They wanted money. It was like $800 or $1,000, something like that. I can't remember the amount. Or they would be sending this video to these 5 email addresses, and it popped up on the screen, 5 email addresses from his coworkers. Like some of them were coworkers, right? And other people that he knew, So it was like five from his contacts. I don't know how this works. I don't know how they get. So they have from his contacts, 5 different email addresses, and they were going to send that video of him, quote, doing his thing, and unless he sent him $800 or something like that. And I was like, what the hell? I said, what? I said, what the hell did you do? He goes, I didn't do anything. He goes, I don't have $800. He goes, I couldn't pay him. I couldn't pay him, but I don't think I slept for those days, and nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened. And he goes, but it was scary. It was scary for several days. Co-workers on there. He also, it's the same guy. Another coworker told me about that guy, about the guy who was doing his thing. He got a new cat. Okay, this guy said he was talking to him about the guy who did his thing, and was supposed to send the $800. Was talking to this other guy who was telling me the story. He goes, I got a new cat. He's so sweet. He's cute, and so he takes his phone out and starts. He goes, look how cute he is. He had a bunch of pictures. He's like swiping pictures of the cat. It's like he's a sweetie, all this stuff, all this like cat talk, and then he swipes it too far. Picture of his penis. The guy's like, whoa, 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 whoa. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, what the hell's that? He goes, oh, this girl I'm dating, she wanted a picture of it. Sorry about that. Of course, they came right to me and told me about it. Anyway, I'm doing my thing, she's doing her thing. And, $800, or these people from your contact list will be receiving this video. Woo, that's a good one. And also a guy I work with, I currently work with, this is a while back though, told me that his uncle used to go to a bar in Wilkes-Barre somewhere. This is like back in the 70s or 80s. And it was like one of these little neighborhood bars. And they had it hooked up. They had the men's room wired. They had microphones in there. And like hidden microphones in the men's room, right? And he said that every once in a while, when the bartender would hit a button, and the jukebox would turn off, and those microphones would turn on in the bathroom, and you could hear people in there like blasting ass, and talking and stuff, urinating, farting, pissing. And everybody in the whole place would be like, oh, oh, oh. And then somebody'd come out, and then everybody'd start clapping. I said, you do that crap now? Probably get Homeland Security. Probably come and get you, take you away, put you in alligator Alcatraz. Can you imagine? I mean, if I was ever in a place like that, if I was ever there and they turned that thing on, I mean, it would be hilarious. I mean, I would be dying laughing about the whole thing, but I would never go in there. I would never go in that bathroom. I'd keep that in the back of my head. No way. They're going to crank those microphones up. And then I'm going to be the star of the show. Some guy in there playing a slide trombone with his ass. And I got some more, but I think that's enough. Is that enough stories? I got more. Maybe I'll do a volume 2. Although those are the greatest hits. I probably can come up with enough to do a second episode of these. Do you guys have any stories like this? Just stories that you've heard from coworkers, in some instances, like that one with the cockroach. That had to be 35 years ago, maybe longer. Like probably 35 years ago. I'll never forget that. I can't imagine the horror of that. But these people just that you briefly know in some instances, like some of these people, I don't even remember their names, but I remember the stories that they told me. Do you have any stories like that? If you do, please give me a call. Call the hotline. The number 570-290-8151 and share. I love these kinds of stories. They don't have to be. This is my theme. A lot of ass stuff and penis. This kind of stuff. Ground beef and all that stuff. Hoisted up on a car lift. That's my wheelhouse. Everybody has their own wheelhouse. That's my wheelhouse. I love that. But anyway, if you have any, please call and share. And speaking of the hotline, I do have 2 calls. This first one is from Producer Zipp, and here it is.
Hey, Jeff K., this is Zipp. Just giving a call about Cracker Barrel. You had mentioned, you talk about it a lot, and Ian had mentioned, that he didn't get to enjoy eating there while he was in America. I fall into the anti-Cracker Barrel camp. I think he didn't miss out on much. It's not necessarily that I hate Cracker Barrel. It's, I'll use a term like you used for grits. It's inoffensive. It's standard white people food, Cracker is right there in the name. But I had a quick funny story about somebody who did hate Cracker Barrel. So long story short, my stepfather growing up, he hated Cracker Barrel. No idea why. He just had a passionate hatred for it. And we were on a road trip. And let me also clarify, I was a man when this happened. I was in like my mid-20s, so it wasn't like I was a little kid. We were on a road trip. We decided to go to Cracker Barrel because I come from a family of crackers, so, it's their favorite thing in the world. And he was so stubborn, he sat and pouted in the car during the entire meal. And there was even a moment where it's like us kind of surrounding the car, trying to get him to come out and be like, you need to eat. It's not that big of a deal. And he just sat in there and listened to the radio, for the entire meal. So I don't know what necessarily happened that he hated, Cracker Barrel so much, but, he's definitely not a fan. So anyway, I need to call the hotline more. I just kind of lost my train of thought. You know what? I'm going to leave that in there. So anyway, see ya. Bye.
This was recorded. I didn't check my. This is before the current Cracker Barrel controversy, so this is coincidental. So I'm sure you've seen where the Cracker Barrel is changing their logo. They're redesigning their restaurants in some instances. They're trying some new look and everything. People are in an uproar about it. I'm getting sick of hearing about it. As long as they don't mess around with that meatloaf, that's all I care about. I don't care if I'm sitting in I don't know. It concerns me, I guess. I don't like when they mess around with stuff. I like the barrel. It sounds like Zipp, you don't like it. You're not a fan. You say it's got cracker right there in the name. Yeah, the thing when they redesigned the logo, they removed the barrel and the cracker. There's like a man sitting there leaning on a barrel. They removed that, turned it into some kind of boring-ass generic logo. Anyway, so this guy that you were on some kind of trip with, the guy, friend of your dad, is that what you said? Would not simply dug in their heels, hated Cracker Barrel so much, skipped dinner, sat in the car pouting while everybody else is inside having some chicken and dumplings and some of that delicious sweet tea. Yes. How could you not like Cracker Barrel? I know everybody says, well, there's no seasoning, everything's bland. It's not true. It's not bland. I mean, I don't know. They don't have. It's not like they're putting jalapenos and everything. You know, it's not like they're putting a lot of spicy hot stuff. But I don't know. It's like home cooking. I like home cooking sometimes. Not every day, but every once in a while it hits a spot. I like it. I like the barrel. I would not be the person sitting in the car. No, pouting, saying I will not go in there. I will not. I am taking a stand against Cracker Barrel. I would not be that guy. I'd be the guy. I'd be like, woohoo! As we're pulling onto the parking lot. Yes. I can't wait. You know. So anyway, thanks, Zipp. I don't know. You know, I guess I understand. You know, people like there's not enough flavor, I guess, or whatever. Not enough spices, you know, not enough seasoning. I don't know what it. I like it sometimes. I like hot stuff too, but not that, you know, not every damn meal. Why does everything have to be the same all the time? Anyway, you know, I'm a cracker. You know, maybe that's why I like it. You know, I don't know. I don't know about barrel. Anyway, thanks, Zipp. Thanks for calling in. I do appreciate this. Next one, I have no idea what this is all about. I'll just play it for you and leave it at that. Here you go.
Hey, Jeff, keep my motherfucking name out of your mouth, boy. Hey, bitch.
What the hell's that? Every time I go to this hotline, I don't know what the hell's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to get. It sounds like that guy, the same guy I called in once before, the guy from Fat Albert, right? What's his name? I don't know. It's that guy that with the knit cap all the way down across his face. His eyes, he's got 2 holes cut in a knit cap. I don't know. It's from Fat Albert, I think. I don't know. I don't know who that is. I don't know what the story is. I can't even understand what the hell he's saying. But came in over the hotline and wanted to share it with you guys. So that's it. So you guys do, please call me. Call me on the line and call me on the hotline and share your stories or whatever. If you want to talk about the Cracker Barrel controversy, I'm getting kind of tired of that. I don't understand. Everybody's in an uproar. Whatever. God, it's Cracker Barrel. Calm your tits. All right. Anyway, if you want to, whatever you want to call about, 570-290-8151 is the number. And if you want 2 episodes a week instead of a measly 1, you can do that too by heading over to patreon.com. It's Patreon, patreon.com/JeffK. Sign up for a $4 or more monthly donation, and you'll get an extra episode every week. Not every once in a while, not every month. That's for suckers. Every week. Well, every week that I publish one on the main network, you get an extra episode a few days later. Full length. In fact, the next one, which will be on Patreon side, I'll tell you about my going to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania to see Nick Lowe in concert and some other stuff. I got some other things. So the only people who are going to be able to hear that are the patrons. And you can be one by going to patreon.com/JeffK. $4. That's all. It's nothing. You get all these bonus episodes. So check it out. And surfreportpod.com is the web home of the podcast. Check that out as well. And we're at the end of this thing. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time, which will be over on the Patreon side. Hope you guys have yourselves a fine, fine day. I'll see you. Bye. A lot of ass stuff and penis.